Hey everyone, welcome to an Advanced Sports Analytics live stream. Today is Friday, July 23rd. We had the Bucks close out Game 6 on Wednesday, so we're in that kind of 1 to 1.5 month stretch where there's just going to be baseball. We'll have golf every weekend and continue doing those shows, but the every other day shows are just going to be focused on MLB. We've got a big 14-game slate tonight, so I think we should have a lot to talk about. Wanted to call to attention before we dive into tonight's slate. Yesterday, we do kind of the daily write-ups on the SuperDraft strategy page. That's strategy.superdraft.io. So encourage you guys to check those out for free. There's a SuperDraft player or follower, I guess, on Twitter that read through our article last night in which we highlighted, Charles actually highlighted Manaea, KH Kim, Brave Stack. One of the readers took the article, ran with it, used more or less the core of the lineup that was recommended in the article, and took down one of their small stakes tournaments, I think either 50x'd or maybe 200x. I'm not sure if he won the quarter or dollar contest, but first place riding the Manaea Kim Brave stack of Swanson, Freeman, Peterson put up a donut, but Swanson with the grand slam at 1.3x turned out to be an awesome play and tournament winning lineup. So if you guys are looking for detailed write-ups on tonight's slate or any of the other slates when we don't have a live stream, encourage you guys to check out the SuperDraft strategy site. Lots of good stuff with tonight's article, and then we'll also have articles every weekday, even the days that we don't have the live stream. So great work, Charles, last night with kind of highlighting some of those awesome plays on SuperDraft. Hopefully we can repeat that success tonight with the big 14-game slate. So I'll open up our projections for tonight, and we can kind of talk through some of the plays, who's standing out as potentially strong pitchers. That was really the success point. Manaea was key and super popular, but KH Kim kind of flew under the radar. I think he must have had like 10% or so ownership, put up a big, I think 6 innings, 7 shutout, registered the win at 1.95x. So as we look at pitchers tonight, and I know you touched on 2 guys in the article that you really like standing out. Why don't you talk about Peralta and Molly, who Peralta in particular is standing kind of head and shoulders above the field in terms of projection. I think there are kind of more nuanced discussions to be had about like a guy like Molly versus maybe say Wheeler. But why don't you talk through Peralta and also Molly and kind of what you're seeing with him as a potentially strong play on SuperDraft?
Yeah, so I mean, Peralta has just been absurd, and he's got this 1.95x multiplier tonight, which is, just right about the cap for the highest multiplier you can have. 2.39 ERA and 0.90 WHIP, which is 7th in the MLB and 4th in the MLB respectively. I mean, those are just absolutely monster numbers. Whiff rate is 33.1%, which is largest on the slate tonight, higher than guys like Garrett Cole and Wheeler. I mean, he's just been really outstanding. 135 strikeouts. He fills it up. Now they play the White Sox, who have been, super strong offensively, and they can hit, but the value is just all over giving Peralta the go tonight at that 1.95x. And it's worth noting the over-under line is only 7.5 runs. Vegas sees this as a low-scoring game. Milwaukee's slightly favored, so that's only factoring in about half the win equity. If Milwaukee can get it done, I mean, Peralta could put up a really huge number tonight. And then moving into the next few guys, I don't know, Molly and Wheeler are kind of tied here. I'd say for tournament purposes, I think Molly's the guy with less likely to be owned. Has had a sneaky good season, 7-3 record, sub-4 ERA, 126 strikeouts, above average whiff rate. and averaged 7 strikeouts so far in his 3 appearances this month. I mean, he can really pitch, and he gets a St. Louis Cardinals team tonight at home that's struggled offensively. I think it's a strong matchup, and I think it's a good kind of fade on that 1.9 multiplier, especially if they can get the win. They are relatively decent favorites, minus 153. As opposed to Wheeler, who's kind of like a great floor guy. We'll be fading the offense going up against them tonight, the Atlanta Braves stack. Wheeler, it's just the 1.6, much more likely to be owned. But I mean, if you're in a cash game and want that kind of stability from one guy and the one higher multiplier guy, I mean, Wheeler's a great option. He's got a disappointing 7-5 record for a 2.44 ERA, which is top 5 in the MLB. I mean, he's just been incredible also. So I like both of them. I'd go Molly in the tournament play, but I wouldn't hate either in cash games.
Yeah. So, Thomas Kingston in the chat bringing up some good points. Molly was a painful start last go round. I think we touched on him on Friday. I mean, he got out of the gates incredibly well. I think had like a shutout or maybe 1-run baseball through his first like 5 innings or so, and just imploded in his final inning. Would be interested to see how like that. Of course, obviously the scoring is counted for every inning that a guy pitches, but Molly has shown flashes of being really strong, and I think you touch on a good point. I mean, he's got really excellent whiff stuff, as where Wheeler doesn't have quite the whiff upside that Molly has, but Molly does give up harder contact. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right with you. I think just by virtue of the multiplier, the matchup, and just kind of the stuff that Molly has, I think he's a phenomenal upside play, and maybe due to his painful performance last go around, might come in a little under-owned. Wheeler, though, I do think we have them projected very tightly, less than a fantasy point separating the two. Wheeler does strike me as kind of a higher floor, lower ceiling type guy. Man, Wheeler's been he just works really late into games, as where it seems like the trend around the league has been to shorten starting pitchers. Like the one flaw that kind of Peralta has is that sometimes he only goes like 5 or 6 innings. But Wheeler seems to be kind of an old school type pitcher where they're working him deep into the games. They'll let him go the full 9 if his pitch count is in check and he's kind of pitching well. You raise a good point about the matchup with Peralta. I think one thing to note, Chicago is an American League team coming to a National League ballpark. So they will be down the DH. If a guy like Eloy Jimenez was active, that would be, I think, a real painful transition. But I guess it means that like someone like Gavin Sheets probably won't be in the lineup. Don't think that's like a huge blow to the White Sox, but certainly like when we are modeling things, we are kind of taking into consideration not just like team level statistics, but the aggregate statistics of players who are projected to be starting. And of course, that Chicago lineup has actually been confirmed for the night. So do you think any sort of projection model that's using like team level metrics might be a little high on the difficulty of the matchup for Chicago? If you're using some baseline statistic like, average runs scored or anything, weighted runs created by the Chicago offense. I do think that's going to be a little inflated tonight with Chicago going to Milwaukee. So I think Peralta's a lock. I mean, I think got the incredible ceiling, got the high floor, 1.95x. I mean, the guy's an all-star pitcher with, like you said, elite swing and miss stuff. And also I think, Peralta, at least last year, kind of got the tag as like a guy who can get tagged, but he has actually been very good at eliminating hard contact. He's got the third lowest allowed xWOBA on the slate. Really, with Peralta, you're just worried. I'm sorry, that's Willie Peralta has the third lowest. Freddie Peralta has the second lowest, but they're actually quite similar. Willie just doesn't generate nearly as many swing and misses. With Peralta, I mean, there is. I do think there is some risk with walks. Like that's kind of been his flaw. But at 1.95x, I mean, given the upside, I think he's going to be super popular, and it's going to be hard to get away from Peralta. We do have a significant, I think, projection drop off after Wheeler. We have Alex Cobb, Joe Musgrove, Zach Plesac, Kikuchi. Montas has, a good matchup against Seattle, but 1.75 feels like kind of a tight multiplier for him, just given where he's at, been pitching at this year. Do any of these guys kind of outside of the top three interest you? Musgrove has had big games in the past, and at 1.9, he's got a decent multiplier, but for the most part, he's been good, not great. Alex Cobb, pretty good matchup, I guess. Minnesota no longer has Nelson Cruz, so kind of like with Chicago, any team that is, or any model that is incorporating historic team level metrics might be a little bit inflated on Minnesota. Are you interested in any of these guys outside of the top three, or just kind of rolling with combinations of these top three pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, I like Cobb. We've featured him before in the article. I mean, he normally gets pretty high up there, but these top three guys cover the bases for me. I just have them rotated and everything. I mean, I feel really, really good about all their matchups, and I wouldn't get too fancy going down the list here.
Yeah. I mean, between really Peralta in particular, but Molly as well. You just have some guys who have really strong multipliers, and Cobb on many other nights I think is well in play, and a guy we're typically pretty high on, but it's going to be tough for them to outpitch, say, Peralta or the kind of the best of Molly Wheeler. All right, and so as we move on to hitters, I know you have one stack that kind of correlates well with some of our preferred pitchers. Talk to me about the offensive stacks that you are most interested in for the slate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Cincinnati Reds tonight, which is the other side of the Tyler Mahle matchup. They get Wade LeBlanc, who's kind of been new all over the place. I mean, kind of untested. We've got a 9.5 run projection out there, and with Cincinnati favored, Vegas is telling us that there's some action coming from the Cincinnati Reds lineup. And, the top of the lineup has really good value. Jonathan India is on a 1.85x multiplier. Jesse Winkler on a 1.6x multiplier. Tyler Stevenson on a 1.9x multiplier. And you get a perennial all-star who's a little older in his career, Joey Votto, on that 1.55x multiplier. I mean, they've had a solid season. LeBlanc has one of the lower whiff rates on the slate tonight at 18.6%. Average fastball 85 miles an hour. I mean, and the Reds' offense, as we alluded to, has been surprisingly solid, keeping them above 500. Their team average is 7th and 6th in the MLB, respectively, which is deceivingly impressive in my opinion. So I'm all over the Cincinnati Reds stack. I think it pairs well with Molly, and that could go. There's a path there where that goes blowout potential, and you have both the pitching end and the hitting end, which would obviously be optimal.
Yeah, I think what's nice about the Reds is you can stack it up a number of different ways. Like we saw it last night with Atlanta, a very popular stack, but I would say the way you wanted to stack Atlanta was not abundantly clear. There's kind of a number of different ways you can go, and it ended up being kind of the surprising star was Dansby Swanson. Sometimes when you have these clear top stacks with super tight pool of players that are kind of worth consideration from that team, you do run into some risk of just playing too chalky of players. But I think with Cincinnati, you can go a number of different ways. I mean, India seems great at 1.85, has kind of the decent power speed combo. Winker got off to a scalding start, but has kind of cooled off a little bit. Aquino, I tend to like both this year and last year. I mean, he's kind of bounces between the majors and AAA, but has at times flashed tremendous power from the right-handed side. He doesn't quite, like, if you're going to try to stack India, Winker, and say Stevenson, you're kind of making a stretch to go like 1, 2, 3, skip 4 and 5, go 6 Aquino. But like, I mean, even though we don't project them quite as high, like because of the variance that you see in baseball, I don't think there's any problem with going something like, you could go like India, Winker, skip Stevenson, Votto, skip Suarez, Aquino, something like that. Or, you could go kind of with this middle stack of like Aquino, Votto, Suarez. As you mentioned, you could go something like Votto, Winker, India if you want to keep it tight with 3 players. So yeah, I mean, I think Cincinnati rather checks out pretty well. One stack that I am kind of interested in, it's kind of a small stack, but I do like some of these Detroit guys. Grossman has kind of flown under the radar because his like average has never been particularly good over his career, but he draws a ton of walks, has a pretty decent speed power combo, can hit home runs, can steal bases, gets on base, has a strong matchup against KC. Bubic has got a 5.03 ERA coming into the start. The weather checks out to be very favorable for hitters. 90 degrees in Kansas City, wind blowing out at 9 miles per hour. So I think like neither of the teams are sexy, KC and Detroit, but the game does have a 10.5 total. That is, I believe, the highest total on the slate. It is the highest game total on the slate. Vegas is giving a slight favorite to KC, but still expect a good amount of runs to be scored. And I do think you could get creative with some of these Detroit guys that tend to go undervalued by the field. Unfortunately, Akil Baddoo is not in the lineup. He typically projects pretty well, but you could go something simple with like Grossman, Haas, 1-3, skipping the 2. You could go kind of a more center of the lineup stack by throwing in guys like Candelario or Cabrera. So I kind of have Detroit as maybe like a sleeper stack for the slate. And of course, you could do something like 3 or 4 Cincinnati guys, 2 Detroit guys, or 3 Cincinnati, 2 Detroit. Pick your favorite one-off. We seem to like Gordon. I don't know that he makes sense as a great one-off play. He's kind of just like a speed, and you're hoping he can score runs. But like going one-off with someone like Dylan Carlson, Kyle Tucker, I think makes for strong one-off plays. At least in my mind, my one-off preference is typically towards guys who have power. Like, take Kyle Tucker, for example. Like, if he succeeds and the Astros as a team score 10 runs, even if you have Kyle Tucker as your one-off, you're kind of going to be in trouble if you don't have more pieces of the Houston stack. So you kind of want to pick guys that can succeed with like home runs. Maybe the team as a whole fails, but they kind of have one big hit that can put them as part of a winning lineup. So yeah, we actually have in our lineup stack tab Cincinnati and Detroit as our top 2 projected stacks. Houston, so we like something with Tucker. I would guess maybe like Altuve tends to be pretty high. Altuve, Straw. Yeah, it looks like kind of a team that's got good balance, but like outside of Tucker, there's not like a ton of super strong projections. You could go something like a skinny stack of like Tucker, Straw. Tucker tends to be pretty popular. Straw, I think, will generate a little less ownership. But anyways, any other stacks or kind of one-off hitters you want to call out, Charles? We did have, I guess, one question. Thomas Kingston asked, what do we think of Cueto tonight? Not a guy I've looked closely at. I mean, San Francisco does have strong implied win odds. Let's see how we are projecting Cueto. Not super favorably. I guess the rub with Cueto is he like doesn't strike out that many guys, right?
Yeah. Low whiff rate, like 19.4%. Decent barrel rate. I mean, he's had a solid season. I don't hate it, and clearly there's that high win equity tonight. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I just there's so many. There's those three guys at the top that I just love, so I wouldn't be looking there. Can't hear you right now, Stuart. Stuart, can't hear you.
Oh, are you able to hear?
Yeah, can hear you now.
Yeah, got you. I had a phone call using Bluetooth and had a phone call come in that was, I don't know, overriding. But yeah, sorry. So with Cueto, I'm sure you covered it, but yeah, low whiff rate, not like particularly good good contact prevention stats either. So yeah, our projections aren't high on Cueto. I guess really the only upside that he offers is that the Giants have good win equity, and at 2x, a Cueto win would be pretty valuable. But it does feel like there are plenty of other high multiplier pitchers that have similar win equity to Cueto. All right, great. Well, yeah. Anything else? Sorry to close out with hitters, hitters to stack or one-off hitters that you want to target. Or are you feeling pretty good with kind of Cincinnati?
No, not really. I was actually so split on Cincinnati and Detroit today. I mean, the Tigers have been on an absurd tear, and it's been fun to watch. I like the stacks you were mentioning. I like Candelario, especially in that group. I like that combo and love Cincinnati, but nothing else specifically to add.
Yeah, no, and I think at least in my experience, kind of the one of the good strategies on SuperDraft has been, going like a 3-2, 3-2 stacking, and then your favorite one-off, or even something like 2-2. So there's definitely room for stacking Reds plus a mini stack on Detroit or Houston or whatever kind of team you like. So great. Well, good luck to everyone tonight. Charles, have a good weekend. Those listening, playing on SuperDraft, have a good weekend. And we will be back next week with some more MLB and PGA talk.
Awesome. Take care.